Watch the show on Fubo TV, VSIN.com, or with the VSIN app. And listen all day on SiriusXM Channel 204.
UFC 236 later tonight. Holloway 2. Although, if I remember correctly, they haven't fought in like 7-8 years, so it's been a while, but yet it is a rematch. And with that, we bring in Jordan Sherwood, ESPN West Palm, to break down everything for the card later this evening. Jordan, thanks for the time. And, I mean, that's, I think, the question, right? Like, immediately, these guys have not fought since 2012. Do you go back to that fight? Do you take anything away from that? That's a long time. These two fighters could have changed quite a bit.
Yeah, there's not much that you could take away from that fight. I mean, both such young fighters when they had that fight. Holloway, I think, was 20 or 21. Took the fight at about 2 weeks' notice. Dustin Poirier was only 24 years old. I mean, since that time, Holloway, his only other loss was to Conor McGregor, and then since that point, he's won 13 fights in a row. Stakes claim is maybe the greatest featherweight we've ever seen. Hasn't lost in 5 years. And Dustin Poirier has been a consistent top 5 fighter in either the featherweight or now the lightweight division, having won 3 fights in a row. So there's not much at all that you can take away from that fight because they've also matured. They've filled out in their bodies a little bit more. So even though, yeah, it is a rematch several years in the making, I don't put any stock in what happened in the first fight when they fought.
Yeah, and nor should you. It was so far back. These guys are two different fighters, well-polished and obviously smart. I was telling JVT a second ago, Poirier's been amazing. He's been on this run. He beats everybody. He's constantly just improving, and yet being such a nice guy, he's never really got what he deserved, and he finally had to start opening his mouth and start commanding and demanding a title shot, and now he's getting it. And I think that's kind of messed up. Like, this guy's been one of the best quietly because is it him? I know that they run their mouths a lot. I know that's good for business and it's bad for the fighter, the guys who don't do it. But, I mean, Poirier deserves this title shot. I think he deserved this title shot a while back. Am I right with this? And does he have a chance to win this fight?
Yeah, yeah. There's certainly a combination to what the UFC prefers in their stars, and you know, does it align up with a win streak and you know, the stylistically and Poirier is an animal. I mean, he's a great watch no matter who he's fighting against. He makes it a fight of the night, fight of the year type of mentality. Go kill or be killed. But I think the one dilemma with Dustin Poirier, he's always been right there. He's always been, I think, one fight away from really legitimizing himself as a superstar. I go back to his featherweight fight against Conor McGregor when Conor McGregor knocked him out in the first round. I mean, that was in the middle of the pay-per-view card, but that was the biggest fight on the card because of the promotion both guys did leading up to that fight. Unfortunately for Dustin, he lost that fight. You know, so he's been close before, and I think, again, now obviously having a title on the line, this is his opportunity, an opportunity to become the interim lightweight title, put himself in a position to fight Khabib Nurmagomedov when he returns, and then also beat a guy that has not lost in 5 years. And he definitely has a chance. I mean, he is well-rounded. He comes from a great camp. American Top Team is going to have him well prepared for this fight. It's just, can he get over the hump against maybe one of the greatest fighters we've ever seen in Max Holloway, who by the way, is only, 25 years old? I mean, he's not even getting to his prime yet. Despite the fact that it will be a new division for him later on tonight.
No, and he'll fight anybody anytime. That's what's great about him too. And my point is with Dustin Poirier and guys like him is we watch the UFC rush so many guys to the top way too fast. Ortega, Gaethje, and I realize Gaethje came from a different, obviously fighting organization, but Ortega and these guys who are fantastic, we've seen it so many times, time and time again, where they rush them to the top, and they're not ready for that level. And guys like Poirier have been getting skipped over, and now time is due. Poirier is going to put up a good fight. Like, he's ready for this fight. This is something that he's always wanted. I recognize how good Max Holloway is, and anytime you think anything bad about Max Holloway, he goes and proves you wrong. We're in for a good fight. What's up with the co-main event? I'm not a Gastelum fan. I don't think that he's as good, but he has been on the rise lately. People say exactly what I just said at Sonya. Maybe he's going up too fast, too early like Ortega's. But in this particular match, I think Israel wins.
Yeah, I mean, Israel's the favorite, and I think we're in that position. The UFC has thrust him. He's 5-0. He's got a shot now after beating Anderson Silva, and that was a gimme fight to get him some momentum, possibly put him in line for a title shot. And this guy's been a killer, before he got to the UFC, before he even got to MMA as a kickboxer. He's outstanding, and there's a lot of hype surrounding him. I think this is going to be a tough test. I agree with the odds. I think Israel should be the favorite. He is a big thing. He's got unbelievable striking prowess when you stand in front of him and what he can do, and he's lived up to the hype so far. He hasn't had any blemishes on his UFC career, but he's never fought a wrestler. He's never fought a guy that could take a punch, that could throw a punch like Kelvin Gastelum. So, I agree that the odds should be in favor of Israel Adesanya. I'm not sure if I'm leaning yet in picking him because of the talent. Kelvin is an underdog. Kelvin has surprised us time and time again. And while people are questioning his resume, looking back at, his last, 5 wins or so, Jacare, controversial split decision. Vitor Belfort, not in the UFC. Tim Kennedy, retired. Johnny Hendricks, retired. So, he doesn't have, the laundry list of guys you should be fighting to earn a title shot, but put himself in that position. And if he wins, he's the interim champ.
Jordan Sherwood with us, host of the Main Event Mondays on ESPN West Palm. You can follow him on Twitter at Woodon1063. Jordan, real quick, rewind to the main event because I'm curious your thoughts on the round prop. 2.5 is the round prop, shaded to the over about -140 is the best price I think you can find out there. What kind of a fight in terms of length are we seeing here? Because Holloway, you look at his last, I would say 6-7 decisions, all in the third round or later. And then, of course, Dustin, you've had a little bit of earlier finishes, but still, fourth, third round had been 2 out of the last 3.
Yeah, I like the over in this fight. I think both guys are going to be cautious to start. I think they're both guys well-rounded, could finish it on the feet, could finish it on the ground. But I think that Holloway in particular, as you just mentioned and referenced his last couple of fights, he kind of waits a little bit, round and a half to start get going. Then he pours it on. Dustin is willing to stand right there and trade it right back. So I do like the over in this fight, but I do like a finish in this fight. I don't think it goes to the scorecards. Both of these guys are killers. They can finish it, as I mentioned, anywhere, ground, feet, and because of the pace, the cardio that both of these guys have as well. Plus, Holloway, he's got that extra 10 pounds. He's not worried about the weight cut, which has been questioned at times before. He's going to be feeling probably a lot fresher fighting at 155 compared to 145.
Yeah, some global props. Fight doesn't go to a decision, shaded by, minus 215 in terms of not going to a decision. All right, same question for Adesanya and Gastelum. There's 2.5 over -189. If you want to get risky, there's over 3.5 -139. How long is this fight going to go?
Yeah, I also think that this fight does not make it to the judges' scorecards. I think Israel Adesanya, because of his striking prowess, he's able to, knock people out and have these unbelievable finishes. But Kelvin Gastelum is a cardio machine. His wrestling ability, the fact that he's got a rifle for a left hand, puts me in a position where I'm going to look for the under in the rounds, and I think we get to a finish as well.
All right. What else are you looking at this card? Is there anything in terms of a wager maybe deeper on the prelims, anything like that you've seen that pops out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly I'm looking at a couple of newcomers making their debuts in the UFC. We go early. First fight of the night, Randy Costa and Brandon Davis. Interesting because Costa comes from a great camp, Joe Lozon's camp, Lozon MMA. They'll have him ready for his UFC debut. He's a very touted prospect. Brandon Davis is a fighter's fighter. He goes out there, throws balls to the wall. But unfortunately for him, he's taking this fight in a new weight class. So I'll be interested to see how he looks. So I'm certainly looking at maybe an underdog pick there for Randy Costa, and as well as another guy making his UFC debut with a lot of hype, the Russian Zelim Amadov against Max Griffin. Max Griffin has been in there with some fantastic strikers, and that's what Amadov is known for. And the record of the guys that Amadov is knocking people out, and he's 8-0, but he hasn't fought anybody the caliber of Max Griffin. So certainly worth a look, too, Max Griffin as an underdog for that fight later on tonight.
Wow, yeah, Griffin flipped in the global market from a favorite -135 to +100, even money, 101. And Costa, too. Really solid underdog picks, meaty underdogs, because Costa's +152 is a huge move.
Yeah, he's a big dog.
Towards Davis in that regard. Jordan Sherwood, again, follow him on Twitter at Woodon1063. Hey, Jordan, thanks for being flexible, man. We're up against it, but we appreciate the time.
You guys are busy. I know you got the Masters baseball fights, so I appreciate you taking some time to have me on.
Yeah, you got it.
Thanks, bud.
Again, Jordan Sherwood, awesome MMA analyst. Find him on Twitter at Woodon1063. ESPN West Palm. Do we know anybody with connections to West Palm? I have no idea.